So we previously discussed looking at one quantitative variable. But now we're going to investigate how to compare a quantitative variable between two groups. So let's understand this first through an example. Suppose we would like to find out if people dish out more ice cream if they are given a large 12-ounce bowl versus a medium 9-ounce bowl. So let's first talk through some old definitions. So who are we investigating? Well, we are technically investigating ice cream dishers, or the people that dish out the ice cream. What variables or what information do I need to collect? Well, one thing I want to know is the amount of ice cream that they put in a bowl. So I need to measure that. That is going to be a quantitative variable. But then I also need to know which bowl they put that one in. Did they have a medium bowl or did they have a large bowl? So since we're just looking at medium and large bowls, those are only two options, so it's going to be a categorical variable. So as you can see here, we have a quantitative variable that we're going to compare on two groups, which come from this categorical variable of bowl size that I have. Why do I want to do this? I want to see if people put more in the large bowl than the medium bowl. Sort of see if there's a psychological effect of bowl size. And then finally, do I know how they collected their data? Technically, I don't know yet. They haven't even told me who they're going to sample or how many people they're going to sample. But it's going to make a really big difference inside this notes. So that is what we're going to talk about first. Now, an additional thing to think about inside this set of notes. We've already discussed bias and trying to eliminate that as much as possible, but there's an additional thing we have to talk about inside this set of notes. What we're going to talk about is independent versus paired samples. Now first, some people instead of using the word paired will use the word dependent. So paired and dependent are going to be used in the exact same way. So first, let's define what a paired or a dependent sample is. So a paired or a dependent sample is one in which there is a specific pairing from the first sample to the second sample, and they're expected to be related on the variable of interest. So that is, the measurements are expected to be more similar than just random observations. So we're going to be going through some examples to try to understand when things are independent samples versus when they are paired or dependent samples. So first, just one thing to keep in mind as we're doing this is that we will actually always assume that the groups are independent until we know otherwise. So we are going to assume that they are not related until we actually know that they are. So let's talk through the first two examples in this video. So in our first example, we're going to compare the prices of items at Kroger and Walmart. We sampled 20 items from Kroger and recorded their prices. I sampled the same items at Walmart and recorded their prices. Well, as you can see, to be inside this set of notes, I need a quantitative variable. In that case, it's going to be price, and we're going to be comparing it between two groups. Here our two groups are Kroger and Walmart. So I'm actually going to start with those. So we're comparing Kroger and Walmart. Now, I will demonstrate this by drawing some pictures to understand it, which you, of course, are more than welcome to do, and actually can help a lot of students understand why things are paired or independent in each example. But then we will also write a little summary sentence to explain why in words they're either paired or independent. So when I go to Kroger, we're going to sample 20 items. Let's suppose for a moment that one of the items that I sampled happened to be a box of Oreos. Right, so now because I sampled Oreos at Kroger, is there anything I have to do when I go to Walmart? Well, the answer is yes, because it says I sampled the same items at both Kroger and Walmart. So if I sampled Oreos at Kroger, I have to also sample Oreos at Walmart. So now what we're looking at, does this look like a pair of items or just two items? Well, here it's definitely a pair because it's the same items. So for that reason, I'm going to say that I have paired or dependent samples because I'm getting the same items at both stores. Now let's talk about this back to the definition of paired and dependent. So it says a specific pairing from the first sample to the second. So that's from our Kroger to the Walmart. And these elements are expected to be related on the variable of interest. So our variable of interest is price. So I'm expecting the price of Oreos at Kroger to be related to the price of Oreos at Walmart. Notice I don't say I expect them to be the same price, but I expect them to be related. That is, if I find out that Oreos are $3 at Kroger, I expect that price to be somewhat similar when I go to Walmart. First, if I just would have sampled any item I wanted to at Walmart, when I sample Oreos, I know that that price should be similar to what I've seen. Let's try another example. So in example 2, we're interested in seeing what effect gender has on exam average. So I sampled 20 females and calculate their average on the exam, and 20 males and calculate their average on the exam. So what am I interested in looking at? Well, my variables here are going to be gender, right? So we're going to have male and female, or men and women. And we're going to be looking at your exam score, which is our quantitative variable here. So our two groups that I'm comparing are the men, or we'll say males to make it match what it says there, and the females. So now we're going to go through and do our sample. So suppose one of the men I sample, his name happens to be David. Never said I was an artist here, so just my stick people. So suppose I sampled David. Now when I go over to my females, of course I know it has to be a female, so I'm just going to draw the little skirt stick figure to say female. Is there a certain female now I have to sample because I sampled David as one of the men? No, I mean, as long as I sample a female, but there's not a specific female that I need to sample. So what this means for us is going back here, when we're trying to decide between independent and paired, we are assuming they're independent until we know otherwise. So from what's given to me here, I don't know why a certain man would be matched with a certain woman. That is why I'm going to say that they are independent. Because at least from what I know, so I have no known reason to match a certain male to a certain female. So far we've seen one example of paired and one example of independent. I have 2 more examples here that we're going to work, but what I of course suggest is try these on your own, because you're going to find out what your gut instinct is then before you watch the video. And so those examples will be covered in the next video to give you a chance to truly stop and think about those 2 examples.